One.
Welcome back to another episode of the DNA Sports Talk Show, where we bring you talk of all the sports all the time. Today we're going to be talking about the NFL and specifically the NFC South and the Saints and the Buccaneers. Both teams have pretty interesting situations on both sides of the ball. So let's hop right into that. Let's talk about the Saints and the QB situation. They've had Breeze for a while. Taysom Hill is an extraordinary weapon, and they just added the newly LASIK surgeon,
Jameis Winston.
Cornerback,
Winston.
wide receiver, cornerback, favorite target, thrower, Jameis Winston. Yeah, that guy.
All right. I want to weigh in quickly. Firstly, I think Breeze has another 3 years in him. I can see the Saints in the Super Bowl in the future. I think Breeze is a very good quarterback. I think he's honestly,
Breeze is
statistically wise,
retiring after this year.
I think he's the best quarterback of all time. I think also that even if Breeze does retire,
you're putting Breeze over Brady. You're putting Breeze
most passing touchdowns and most passing yards.
Breeze statistically is better than Brady.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean the legacy that Brady, 6 Super Bowls, it's hard to compete with.
Yeah,
It is. I agree. The Super Bowls, I said statistically.
I know. I want to go back. You said you think they can make a Super Bowl. I mean, with all of the rough calls that they've gotten against them the past 2 years in a row, I just don't see how it's possible for them to make it past the NFC Championship because they're playing against 2 teams.
What I have to say is that even though all the years that they got in, like 2017 was a miracle, 2018 was a bad call, and 2019 was the almost like offensive pass interference.
You mean the Minneapolis Miracle?
Yeah.
No, that was 2017, 18.
That was 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is all their endings to the year were on controversial calls or crazy plays. I think that they could put up a fight in the playoffs, and I honestly think – I want to talk about Jameis for a second. I think the only reason he wasn't as good as – I think he's going to be much better now that he got the surgery and he can actually see his targets.
Well,
I heard reports that he was seeing double of people, so he couldn't even throw to the correct – he didn't play with contacts either. He wouldn't.
That makes sense considering he threw 30 interceptions. So,
well, the Bucs thought it was all mental with him, so they brought in Bruce Arians to be the doctor. Instead, he was the wrong doctor. They needed the eye doctor to fix Jameis Winston, not the coach.
All right, I want to move on. We talked a lot about the quarterbacks. This is a player that, in my opinion, is the best at what he does in the world, and that's Michael Thomas. I think he's the best receiver in the league, and I think that if he keeps up the way he's been playing, I think he could eventually become one of the greatest of all time. I mean, he put up the numbers last year that are really up there with the other greats. And with a quarterback like Breeze, like Daniel said, one of the best ever, and Jameis Winston backing him up, I don't see how he doesn't rack up the numbers this year.
I mean, Michael Thomas is also a pretty big voice within the Saints locker room. He likes to complain a lot, but he also, keeps like the locker room in good spirits, obviously. But he's a good player. He makes it better with his impact on the field, and he's a big fantasy player too. If you had him on your fantasy team, then you're probably going to win your fantasy championship.
Yeah, I took him in both my leagues.
I drafted him for my brother.
His stats last year were amazing. He had 149 receptions and 9 touchdowns and 1,700 yards. And
he broke the receptions record, right? Am I correct on that?
Yep, single season.
He passed Marvin Harrison. He beat Marvin Harrison. And I think that with Breeze for the next few years, like Daniel said, he thinks he has 3 years left. So with Breeze, he could definitely keep on putting up those numbers. And once Breeze leaves, if they still have Winston, who threw over 30 touchdowns last year, could still help.
No, last year, Winston
he became the first 30-30 player ever.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he makes 30. ESPN should make a 30 for 30 on Winston.
Yeah.
But with Breeze, I think what it sounds like he's only going to come back for 1 more year, sort of like a last dance thing, do or die.
He just signed a 1-year extension, right?
No, it was just a 1-year deal.
Right.
You have to agree with me. Breeze is the most accurate quarterback of all time.
Yes, for sure. Sure.
He also has no arm, though. He doesn't throw downfield a lot.
It doesn't matter. When you have weapons all over the field, like Michael Thomas,
when you have that much accuracy, you don't even need an arm.
Right. All right, let's move on. we talked a lot about the offense. Let's flip over to the other side of the ball. The Saints made some awesome acquisitions over the offseason, made some good moves, and now their secondary is looking pretty scary for the teams that they're going to go up against this year.
Yes, they have. So this offseason, they signed Malcolm Jenkins to add on to Marshawn Lattimore in the secondary. So Marshawn Lattimore and Malcolm Jenkins, also with Cameron Jordan on the D line and Demario Davis at linebacker, their defense is very, very scary.
Yeah. So flipping over to the offense, Alvin Kamara, you may think he's a big running quarterback, running back. He isn't. He's more of a guy who you can get out of the backfield and make some big plays catching the ball. He only had 800 rushing yards last year, but his receiving yards were – that doesn't say.
I want to go back to what Mark was saying, and I want to
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many.
He had 500 receiving yards last year, which is good for a running back. So,
So I want to go back to what Mark was saying.
he was also hurt a lot last year.
I'm probably going to get a lot of disagreement from this, but I think if the Saints have a good record, they have a good year, and they're successful, I think Cam Jordan wins Defensive Player of the Year this year.
It's definitely possible. He's very good, and if he puts up the stats, he could definitely get Defensive Player of the Year.
He's a very good player, but I can't agree with you there for one reason. It's because a player like Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald, they didn't have great years last year. But, I mean, they still dominated the league in defense. I think one of those players are going to win it next year.
Go ahead, Ian.
I think Marshawn Lattimore has a chance at winning it. I mean, last year he was hurt. He missed 2 games last year, only played 14 games, but he did have an interception. He defended 14 passes, which is good. And then there's also Marcus Williams, who had 4 interceptions last year. He's probably the biggest secondary player in the Saints defense. He had 13 pass deflected, and his tackling numbers were pretty good too.
All right, we got to make predictions, guys.
I want to bring up one more point, and then, how many sacks does Cam Jordan have this season, if there is one?
I'd say 15. Last year, Cameron Jordan put up I can't find him. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah.
I think 15's a little bit optimistic. I was going to say more in the 10 to 12 range.
Yeah, I'll say 12.
Somewhere around
Cam Jordan last year put up 15.5 sacks. I think he can easily repeat that. And he had 18 tackles for losses and had 37 tackles, which is good. And 15 of those were sacks. So to have nearly half your tackles at sacks, I mean, that's pretty good.
Mark, what do you think? What number are you going to put him at?
I think around 10 to 11, probably 11.
Okay.
All right,
so
can I go first in predictions?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'll give the Saints 13-3. I think their strong defense is paired with their insane offense and their air raid offense. I mean, there's no way of stopping them. I think they might win the Super Bowl. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, they're gonna get robbed by the refs running a 2-minute drill in the Super Bowl.
I agree with Daniel that their offense and defense combined could be very dangerous, but I think they're going to go 12-4, not 13-3, just because their division with the Bucks and the Falcons and the Panthers it's not an easy division at all.
I like Mark's prediction. I'm also going to put them at 12 wins, but personally, and we're going to get to this, but I think the Bucks they're very promising. With obviously, we're going to get to this with Brady, Gronk, and then you have returning guys like Mike Evans, who's going to tear it up and has already been a big presence in the NFL. But I don't think the Bucks, with the addition of Brady, I think it's a little overhyped. Brady had an off year last year, and we're going to talk about that. But that being said, I'm still going to put them at 12 wins. And Ian, you need to go, right?
No.
What do you put them at?
What do I put at the Saints?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll go 14-2. They have a big team. I think they can do it. They have veteran presence on defense. And I think they're going to go 14-2. But not make the Super Bowl because the refs are always in their way.
What do you think their record is against the Buccaneers this year? I said they go 1-1.
Yeah, I
I say
agree.
they go 0-2.
Yeah.
Those are the team. That's the only team they're taking losses to.
All right, let's switch over to the Bucks quickly. I want to just start one saying, I don't know. I have to say the Bucks on paper are a very good team, but if you looked at the Cleveland Browns this year and on paper, you were thinking they're going to be the Super Bowl champions, and they did not have a great year. So I think they might be a little overhyped. We haven't seen Gronk play in a couple of years, and Brady had not that great of a year. So I want to hear what you guys think.
What I find interesting is obviously they're playing in the same division as the Saints. That's going to be rough, those two games against them. It's going to be good games. But I want to bring up Gronk specifically. He's obviously known for his habits of partying and like being like an outrageous person. And I personally don't think he was in the
He's
WWE
never
for
healthy.
a little bit. Yeah, obviously he's had health concerns in the past, but the fact that he didn't play for he missed games, right? So he just didn't play outright. So I think that's definitely going to affect him going into the season. I don't think he's going to be the same Gronk that we saw when they were winning Super Bowls. I also think I want to go back
You
to
mean when he was sitting on the sidelines when they won Super Bowls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think on the offensive side, they need to get a running back, which they didn't really address in the draft. I mean, they did draft someone in the third round, but
but
last
that's just
year
the
you have-
Buccaneers style. I mean, like we said before, Jameis Winston, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. The Saints love to throw the ball. Not the Saints, excuse me. The Buccaneers love to throw the ball. That's just how they play the game.
yeah, well, their running back is Ronald Jones last year, who ran for 724 yards and
But he-
6 touchdowns.
That's a respectable number.
It is. And Peyton Barber also ran for nearly 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is good since they're going with a 2-man backfield. And Chris Godwin actually had more receiving yards than Mike Evans last year. He had a bigger year
That
than
doesn't
Evans.
surprise me.
But I think this year Evans is going to have a big year, and I think Godwin's still going to be the number 2. And I think besides running backs, main concern is defense and offensive line, which they did address the O-line in the draft. They drafted Tristan Wirfs 13th overall, and they just need to address the defense.
Well,
They
you're
have no
going all over
secondary.
the map here. I want to back up. We talked a lot about the receivers. I want to go back to the guy who's going to be thrown on the ball this year.
Yeah.
Probably widely regarded as the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. Like we said, he had an off year last year, but I think
He had
the
no
change
help.
the change of location and him being back with Gronk, I think is going to be huge. And I think, don't get me wrong, he had weapons in New England, like obviously Julian Edelman, one of the best in the game.
He got double covered after a few weeks.
Right. But when you have Goodwin and Mike Evans and Gronk on the same offense, like I said, we haven't really seen Gronk play. But assuming he's in shape, I feel bad for any defense that's playing them because there's just not enough guys in the backfield to cover them.
Yeah, I also want to bring up something. In New England, Tom Brady liked to check down to the running back a lot, either James White or Sony Michel. And Ronald Jones is a receiving back as well, so I think that could also help him be like he was in New England, checking down to the running back a little bit. But also with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, with Ronald Jones, he could be much better than he was in New England.
And Brady in New England is always a guy who was known for being paired up with big name receivers like Randy Moss, Wes Welker.
This is gonna sound a little bit crazy.
Julian Edelman.
It's gonna sound a little bit crazy.
He was known for being paired up with big name receivers. So he's got 2 of them in Tampa Bay with Godwin and Evans, and the addition of Gronk.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting you, and that is my apologies.
Go on.
This is gonna sound a little bit premature, but I think this offense, especially with you said they're receiving, they have a receiving back, but they also have weapons that can go deep. This offense was almost engineered for Tom Brady as a guy who likes to throw the ball. He's really good short. He's really good in the mid passing game as well. I think this offense is going to be a really good fit. Like I said, we haven't seen him play in Tampa Bay, so we really can't say anything too confidently. But I think that if there is a season, Tom Brady is going to put up some very respectable stat lines.
And he
Well,
does.
just-
He
I
has a
have to
lot
say-
of depth too. Sorry, Daniel.
If his football this year is as good as his golf game, the Buccaneers will have some issues.
In my
Well,
opinion,
they might have a couple wardrobe malfunctions though.
Yeah, couple more.
I think though the Bucks do have a lot of depth at tight end. You have Gronk, OJ Howard, and Cameron Bray, three guys who are all solid players, and Gronk, who was once the best tight end in the game,
He's
and
the best
OJ
ever.
Howard, who now at the start of this year, 2 seasons ago, is going to be coming off a big second year. So hopefully, Gronk plays where they don't have to be using backups, and hopefully he'll stay healthy. And other than that, they got a big offense with a lot of depth. And I think we should be talking about their defense now.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's flip over to their defense, especially their defensive line. There's a couple of big names there. Although
Shaq Barrett.
it's more of a veteran presence than a younger
What
core.
about Shaq Barrett?
No, I'm talking about guys like Ndamukong Suh.
Oh,
Guys that can
JTT.
really- Right. I think
Yeah.
these are guys that not only will be
Vita
a
Vea.
presence on.
I mean,
These
that
are
guy
guys
eats.
they're not even going to be. They will be important on the field, but they're also going to be very crucial in the locker room. Obviously, with guys like Brady and Gronk, the mix of veterans and guys who are kind of like new to the league or in their primes is really balanced, which I think is going to be very helpful for this Tampa Bay team.
And
Right.
the linebackers last year, Devin White, who's the 7th overall pick in last year's draft, who's coming off a good rookie year. He missed 3 games. He missed, I believe, the first game of the season because he was hurt. And he's paired up with Levante David, Levante David is a very good player. He can play the linebacker's position better than most players in the league. And I think paired with Devin White, those guys can be good for the Bucs defense. But the thing is, they have no one in their secondary.
All right,
That's
we have
an
to make
issue.
predictions.
I just want to ask one question.
Yep.
So we talked about Breeze, we talked about Brady, 2 of the best to ever do it. This season, the 2020 season, if it ever happens, who
Mhm.
throws for more touchdowns?
Breeze or Brady?
Yeah.
Breeze.
Touchdown?
Breeze.
I'm gonna say Brady for touchdowns
Yeah.
because he has more weapons.
I'm
But
gonna have to.
yards,
go ahead.
I would say
The
for
Saints
yards,
also got Emmanuel Sanders this offseason, so
Yeah,
Breeze
and
has some good
Kamara
weapons.
and
Michael
yards.
Thomas.
and Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many
Jared
touchdowns is he
Cook,
gonna
too.
throw to Alvin Kamara?
What about Thomas and Sanders?
What about Jared Cook?
Jared Cook.
No, but Brady has Godwin, Gronk, and Mike Evans. The 3 of them.
I want to see Gronk hit the field first.
Yeah.
That's fair, but I'm willing to bet on Brady. So let's go into our team predictions.
All right.
The Buccaneers are winning. I think I put the Saints at 12 wins. I'll put the Bucs at 10 wins.
I'll agree with you there.
10-6.
10,
Yeah,
10 and 6.
I'd say 10-6.
I'm
If
gonna
Gronk
go-
can stay on the field, then they're going to go way higher than 10-6, but I'd say 10-6.
I'm gonna go 11-5. Their offense is deadly, and also, like Ian said, their linebackers and D line are also very good. That combination, I see them winning 11 games.
And I think
Right.
the only thing that's holding them back is a bad secondary, and that every player on that O line except for Tristan Wirfs is.
Let me get to the
very
sponsors
good.
quickly. We want to give a shout out to Skybox Sports Collectables store in Livingston. They're taking pickup orders. If you call and you place an order and you mention the podcast, you will get a free pack. The phone number is in the description. Alex,
All
take it
right.
away.
Like Daniel said, the phone number will be in the description. Don't forget to mention DNA Sports for 10% off. For a free pack of cards. And then if you want to subscribe, be sure to hit the button right here. If you want to watch another video, our previous video with 2-time Stanley Cup champion Scott Gomez, hit right here. And don't forget, we have a very special giveaway sponsored by Skybox Sports Collectables at 100 subscribers. So be sure to hit subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.
Thanks
All
for
right.
watching, guys.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.